mornings or afternoon, they'll walk by here, and then they'll check all those trash bins, and then they'll look for leftover cigarettes. Yeah, and then they'll just pick it, or they'll use the restroom in the back because it's a nice restroom. It's air conditioned, so I guess it's a nice getaway from the heat outside. So they'll stay there for like hours. When this fountain used to have water before, they'll pick the coins. They'll come in and like, can I use these coins to buy water or drink? I see some veterans and I see some new faces. They're like infantry, the dogs will go out first, and then there's just like 4 or 5 guys after those dogs, behind those dogs. There's an abandoned house in the back that I think they used to stay.
The main canopy back there was 2 women that are staying there, and a couple of guys, and 2 girls, young girls, maybe 5 years old or less than that. So they live there, they cook there, and then we used to have the bathroom down there and a shower, and they used that to shower and use the restroom.
An old 70s bus that we were told that at one point was, there was people living in there. I've seen pallet houses in the jungle, made from shipping pallets.
One thing that really breaks my heart is this household that's staying under the bridge. There's a mattress which is right next to the water, and they have a toddler.
It's a growing number.
They're all over the place.
This is Noah from Hawaii. To many, he is the face of homelessness on the island.
And I see him all the time with his big cardboard sign, God bless.
But there are many others.
You originally from where? Here?
From Agate. My wife left me.
Is she from here?
No, it's from Yeah. Yeah, she got stuck with 2 pairs of clothes, and that was it.
Were you born here?
No, I'm Philippines.
How many years ago?
Way back 2010, separated with my wife in the Philippines. We don't communicate anymore.
I'm originally from Village of Johnny, but now I went to in Paseo number 5. But my father and my kids he just died last year.
What's your name?
Vivian Ignacio. I'm 66.
What village were you born in?
In Iran, we lived there.
I've been living in the streets was 2009. I was staying with my brother, but my brother offered it. And then my older brother that was staying there didn't want me there. He didn't want me to stay here. He kicked me out of here.
I just walk from the place to those places in there. I stay here because I like. I have relative on this island. but I want to stay here to be alone.
These individuals are only a few of the many living without permanent shelter on Guam. At present, there are over 800 men and women and children without what we would call real homes. When did homelessness begin to become a serious problem?
Maybe the late 70s to 80s. I only knew about homeless when my own family members were homeless.
There's always been homeless people at Plaza de España since I can remember, since I was really young, but not in abundance that we have now.
There's always been a certain amount of homelessness in Guam that has been disguised by people just squatting, living in the jungle somewhere, and setting up a lean-to, and kind of domiciling themselves there, either on government lease lands or just maybe extended family property. As long as they were living in the jungle, you never really saw them.
People still had ranches, so if you had someone who was unemployed, maybe they lived on the ranch. And, even if they had substance issues, most of which were alcoholism at that time, they lived at the ranch. And some of them may stay with family members, but there was still that familial obligation to take care of family members, especially if it's with the part of the nuclear family.
Well, I think it started becoming apparent like in the late 80s, and visually visible kind of homelessness where you started to notice that people were not having a regular place to stay.
The issue with opioids, even the introduction of ice, and that changed, I think, the landscape, because then, if family was helping you, you don't steal from family. But that kind of changed things, and you would have family members stealing from family to support their habit. And so it stressed families, and the kids would be booted out.
Homelessness seems to have become noticeable by the late 1980s, possibly because of social changes on the island and elsewhere. But the problem has only grown bigger since then.
Throughout the 90s and the early 2000s, I had not seen people panhandling or approaching you when you're going in and out of island businesses, Payless, and I think increased exponentially in the past decade.
The numbers started to grow over the last maybe 5 to 6 years. We see more people choosing to be out or having to be out and in this situation.
The increase was apparent in the growing number of people turning up for the free dinners provided in Agana and Deredo.
This establishment has been around for 26 years. He started out with 10 people, and look, now we're averaging about 60, 70 people.
We've actually seen the numbers go up to over 140 that come in one night. And this is basically mostly towards the end of the month when their food stamps have run out.
The homeless may have been a feature on Guam for a long time, but they lived in rural areas, often on the family ranch, sometimes squatting on someone's land with their permission. In recent years, though, the number has multiplied, and today the homeless can be found everywhere. The latest survey of homeless people counted 870 of them. Who are the homeless? Where do they come from? Most of this number are Guamanians. Another large segment of the homeless are Chuukese. Then there are the others: Pohnpeian, Yapese, Palauan, Filipino, Saipanese, American, and still others.
The majority are Chamorros, but there are also a lot of Micronesians, particularly from Chuuk. I've met one Korean. Caucasians, I do see them.
They're not only migrating from the islands, from the FAS, but they're also coming in from the mainland and CNMI.
I used to be homeless in California. Now I'm homeless in Hawaii. And then now I'm homeless I used to be homeless in Hawaii. Now I'm homeless in Guam.
Our experience with Saipanese, this was after the typhoon Taudilor. There were more people that came over. A couple of them we were able to provide assistance with housing. I know that there's a couple of them that went back to Saipan.
Within the last 5-6 months, we've been having an increase of the Russian population.
I have Russians too.
The Russians, they're the new breed that were still trying to find ways on what we can do on how to assist them, because most of them, well, these are the stories we get. They came here for asylum.
Living conditions are tough for people living on the street. Food and water, a toilet and shower, shelter from the sun and rain. We may take them for granted, but for the homeless, they are a constant challenge.
Hungry and cold and any shelter. My food stamp comes out, I buy food.
I have no load on my cell phone, only charge it here, and then I go to the mall where I can reach a Wi-Fi. That's the only means of communication I can get to my family back home.
People bring me food. Yeah. That's my store and do that. No shower here. Rain, I shower.
Many of the homeless have lost some of their meager possessions to thieves.
I did have mattress, but they took it away from me. And somebody just took away from had a cart and had a mattress and he took it away.
They stole my backpack. My backpack had 2 dresses, underwear.
I used to have all these cell phones and they get stolen when I'm sleeping. I tried having it in my pocket. I wake up. The only thing I found in my pocket was my lighter, my cigarette. I was like, okay, where's my cell phone? I was like, okay, somebody needed it more than me.
You know how I sleep? One eye shut and one eye open. I get scared.
Some of the homeless complain about being chased away from stores, malls, and parks by security or police.
They kicked us out of the chocolate house because they said that it's an historic park, but we don't chase the tourists. Well, we don't chase the tourists. We welcome them. Yeah. But I guess they got afraid because there's too many of us in one place.
We used to have a group that would sleep over at the Azotea, but evidently they're enforcing that now where they can no longer sleep there.
Then you got this Choco, again, shopping center. The security manager is saying we're not allowed in the premises. Yeah. What am I doing wrong there?
What do the homeless do for food?
Thank you.
I do some yard work for Vivo. So they pay me like $40. That's how I end up like buying food for a few days.
My food stamp comes out, I buy food. But mostly my friends in Chamorro Village, some of my friends or my family, my aunties and friends, they give me food. I survive on what I got. What the people gives me.
You know, and if like friends come by, you know, sometimes they drop me food.
For those who can't depend on food from friends or family, there is a free meal offered every evening at the Senior Center in Dedido and at Kamalin Caridad in Agenya.
So 7 days a week, the homeless get fed if they're hungry. This feeding here in our community has actually been ongoing for the past 8 years.
365 days out of the year, we don't close. Dinner starts promptly at 6. Aside from our Aganya location, we do have our Dedido location. It's not just our Catholic organizations that feed. We also have the 7-Day Adventists. We have 2 groups that feed here actually in the evenings, 7-day. And then we also have in our Dedido location, we have the Guam Christian group feeding there as well. We give them a bag to go. And that would more or less would help them for the following day for either breakfast or lunch.
So we're gonna do soup, water, and crackers and pretzels.
When we're done, we have a ticket, we just give them and they'll give us candy and to go back. To go back, that can last you for the morning.
Yeah, breakfast.
Breakfast. Sometimes a can of corn with Vienna sausage, crackers, and a bottle of water with a spoon. Sometimes they give us hormel chili in the can with crackers, water.
The homeless may have lost their birth families, but many replace them on the street. Individuals often form groups or families for protection and for some companionship. Sometimes the head of this family also coordinates activities.
There's groups of them, you know, like they're like cliques. Like certain group belongs to yours. If it doesn't belong here, they'll kick you out or they'll send you somewhere else.
Our boys.
Yeah. How many?
What? 2. What? 5 of us total? Just the guys.
Some comes here by themselves, meaning they're the outcasts. So it's like society, you know. But of course, it's the homeless society. You know.
But not all of the homeless are individuals seeking companionship on the streets. A surprising number have families.
I see them a lot in Ocapeles or in Tamuning, the intersection of ITC, or in Harmon, where the McDonald's is, in Dedido, in Macheche Plaza. Sometimes I see them in the morning, you know, like with their baby carts, and the mom and the dad and the kids, you know, they just, I guess, spend the night there.
homeless on a Pacific island where everyone has a home, where family ties are proverbially strong, and where even the outsider is generally adopted into society. How can it be that there are over 800 homeless, and that nearly half of these are individuals who have been born on Guam?
I still respect my dad. I have to honor my dad. I still respect him. I just don't live with him. I was born in the village of Agate, not in the hospital. I got to the hospital later. I was born in '64, Old Agate. I was raised in a ranch. Outdoors, mostly fishing, the farming, jungle hunting, or harvesting, shrimping, or harvesting from the trees in the jungle. My grandfather had a ranch, and they were raising goats, billy goats. After my 8th grade year, we left to the States, the whole family. We came back in '82 because I started my senior year here in Guam. Well, I was happy to be back home on my own island, born and raised. The 5 of us siblings are here on island. The 4 boys and 1 girl. The youngest is a girl. The youngest doesn't have a family. He's not married yet, like me. '85, I went basic training, Army Reserve. I was discharged '87, but I came back to a broken family. My mom in the States, California. My dad's here with another woman at the house that we were staying in. I didn't move back in with my dad in the house. I didn't move back to stay in the house because she was with another woman. My youngest brother was the one staying there. And I was working for Black Construction at the time, barracks manager. I was working on the marina, Aga Marina. And the last one I did was, like I said, was a ranch, living ranch in Santa Ana. Because I grew up farming. I also worked with a guy named Paul Gray, was a commercial farmer. And I was working for him. He had a ranch in Santa Rita. But he had to lay me off because his boys now into college. I was living with my brother in 2009 because I had tuberculosis. I contracted tuberculosis. And instead of getting treatment at the house, because there was a newborn baby and they got kids, I asked if I can go and get my treatment in there to stay there with my brother because he was single. And I didn't want the kids to catch it because it's contagious. Then my brother Henry came back from the States. He needed a place. So my brother offered him, since he's got family, kids, go and live there, and we went elsewhere. And that's when I started my own business.
Others, too, have experienced a split from their families.
The break was the parents passed away, and that's where the break starts. I flew away from the nest since I was 18,
My mother and father passed away. I tried my best to get back on my feet too. Just to make some money to get me back.
I stay with my cousin. He has a house. I get a job right away after 2 weeks, so I support myself and I help him pay rent, pay water, pay power. So we stick together for like 5 years. And then he has to move to the States, so we're alone. I lost my job, that's how I ended up there.
What about your parents? They're not alive.
No, they're not. They passed away. I have 4 brothers and 4 sisters. They have their own family too. And I don't want to be there to, with them, especially if we don't really get along.
Sometimes the family problem was much more serious. Jeremy Tovez has this to say about his own split with his family.
I'm born and raised on Guam, Liguan, Derrito. I have 2 brothers and 1 sister. All of us have different mom and dads. Both of my parents, you know, they were on meth, and I used to witness my dad and my mom fighting, like literally fist fighting in front of me. And what I remember as an infant, I do remember my mom fighting not only with my dad but other boyfriends. Little problems, like as a kid, you know, like spilling your milk or whatever I do, little problems become big problems to her because she don't have her fix and she gets really angry fast. My dad ended up getting hit for drugs and guns, and he did about 5 years at a federal penitentiary. So I didn't see my dad growing up as a kid much. My mom was in and out of jail all the time, so my dad wanted to try and, make amends, I would say, with me. So he tried to be there for me, and, you know, he tried his best. Elementary, I got expelled when I was 3rd grade because I beat up the principal. I was 8 years old, but I smashed that principal's face. I went to another school, I fought with teachers. The only reason why I didn't beat up the principal of that school is because she was a lady. But if that principal was a guy, I would have beat him up too. I was mad at everybody, man. I wanted to beat up and kill everybody. I was only a kid, but man, I was a bad kid. I got arrested and I got thrown in jail in DYA on Guam for arson because I lit the jungle on fire. And I went into DYA, and from there I got help. I went to DOC 3 times. I was a social worker for Gumamami. Later on down the line, I was doing dishwashing for a company, for a restaurant. I did dishwashing for about 4 months when I got out, and then that was about it. Then I couldn't find a job after that. No one would hire me because of my record, yeah. And my disability, because of my medication. Man, I just lounged about, stayed with my mom and wherever she went, and we became homeless. My mom became homeless and me. I was with my mom. We had to move in and out of her friends' houses, her drug friends, and it was hard. But then I got locked up again the 3rd time, and my mom was getting treatment to get over. She went to Oasis, I don't know if you know what that is, where they treat women, get treatment for drugs. When I got out, that's when I became homeless. I lived in an abandoned house in Uganda for about 3 months. No power, no water. I used to shower at the Guardian Bunk Basin because they have a little faucet there. For food, I went to Chameleon Canada. I ate there every night. I tried to get a job, but because I was homeless, they didn't want to hire me.
Being homeless is not a disease itself. It's a symptom of something else.
The main causes of family breakups is substance abuse, whether it's drugs or alcohol.
Well, drugs has had a huge impact. You know, with the number of homeless that we're seeing, mental health issues, you know, there are a lot of individuals with mental health issues that are on the streets that, you know, either aren't complying with their service plans with, Guam Behavioral.
Unfortunately, some of the Chamorros here, because of the fact of their drug use, or they don't want to abide by their family rules, they prefer to stay out here in the streets.
Families have already cut ties because they've become difficult to live with. Same with the drug use, they just have burned those bridges completely. And you see them, majority of those are the street homeless.
We do have a lot of Chamorros that, who are homeless and choose to be homeless.
We're finding out that it's by choice that they're in this situation. They had family problems. They don't want to go live with family because they think that it's family that turned them in for something.
Ruptured family bonds, whether because of drug addiction or mental illness, may account for most of the local people who are homeless. But a large number of those found on the street are Micronesian immigrants.
The younger families coming in from the outer islands thinking, or even elderly, thinking that they can live with their relatives that are here. And when they land, they talk to their relatives, and the relatives said, you can't stay with us because we're under a program. So they go from one relative's house to another, finding out that all these family members who they thought they can stay with are all under either Section 8, Guam housing, or low-rent housing programs.
I know they're overcrowded Micronesians. I know there's a lot of that. If you have, 13 people living in a 2-bedroom home, I don't know. That's pretty dispiriting.
Definitely the migration situation, right? I mean, although majority of homeless is Chamorro, still the second highest ethnic group are migrants. So I think something has to be said about compact migration. And I think certain families not being equipped to deal with life on Guam.
Many of the homeless, whatever their other problems, claim to have difficulty making ends meet. Even if they have a full-time job, they just can't afford house rental and utilities.
Not all homeless, are alcohol or drug users or abuse drugs, There are a lot of families who are struggling. They're trying to make ends meet when your financial resources are limited.
Rental rates are up there, and people are living paycheck to paycheck.
Rent has been going up steadily. Most families are actually 1 or 2 paychecks away from being homeless, especially with the high rent, high cost of living on Guam. That could contribute to homelessness on Guam.
Some of the homeless can testify to this from their own personal experience.
Not everyone is out there to make money for drugs. We're also out there to work or make something to get food, get some kind of shelter. I'm trying to get my ID so I can go back to work and also get food so I can eat and get clothing.
Before it's hard to find a job because you don't have a permanent, residence. Like that. I got lucky. I actually worked here before GCIC as a security guard, and I was staying in Tumon, Ipao Beach at the time.
My last job site, it was a G4 security. I worked for 6 months for G4. So I got injured and they had to resign.
A surprisingly large number seem to have been trapped in homelessness, partly because of the documents they lost while on the street.
Next step is to get my Guam ID so I can actually go to work.
Yeah.
And also get my social security card.
Trying to get back on my feet and get a job. But right now I don't have a Guam ID, driver's license, but all I have is my birth certificate and my diploma. With my social security, that's it.
But I need to get my ID I got my birth certificate already, and I need to get a passport, but I don't have money for those.
Whatever the cause, the result is a homelessness that we can see all around us. But doing without shelter is only part of the problem. The individuals are also without the solid ties to the family that are so prized in island cultures.
So we have the street homeless individuals. These individuals are the ones that sleep at buildings, overhangs, under stairwells, the bus stops. But the bigger group are those that live either on properties. They're stationary in that site, but their structure is such that it meets the definition of a homeless individual or family. And that's because the structure, it has maybe dirt floors, it has no windows, it's kind of like an outside kitchen, and they're included in the count.
What has Guam done to help its homeless? Over the years, the island has developed a system for dealing with the problem. Emergency measures are in place to provide immediate help to victims. Guma, San Jose, and Deredo is the largest of these emergency shelters, capable of housing 70 people.
It's mostly families there. The main shelter is mostly families. Our men's shelter has a 6-bed capacity. But the family shelter is almost all families or single women.
Guma San Jose Homeless Shelter, we have a wait list.
Guma San Jose, you live 2 months, then you're out. You have to stay out in the streets and then reapply to be able to come back in, provided there is room available. Actually, bunk available, because it's 2 bunks to a room. I applied 4 times. I'll go back in. I'll go back in.
Guma San Jose is almost always at capacity. There's another step with Guma San Jose, so they have an expansion unit where we have 5 homes that are adjacent to the main shelter that some of the families will transition to, and they can stay there up to 6 months while they work on building savings and things like that, so they can go into their own units.
There are a few other private shelters for those with special needs. One is run by Catholic Social Services.
Here we have some programs where we do have an apartment complex for those that are chronic homeless, so those that have been homeless 4 or more times in the last 3 years or for a 12-month period with a disability. So we have a complex in Manilao that's an 8-unit complex that's at capacity at the moment. And so the rentals are covered, and we do case management with the individuals that are in those units.
Another shelter for those suffering from addiction is sponsored by Salvation Army.
Lighthouse, I believe there are 26 beds and 2 detox rooms. I see a lot of faces that return, and they're no longer in the inpatient treatment, but what they do is they return so that they can stay away from the very triggers that push them back into addiction.
These special shelters provide more than just a roof over the head of the homeless.
We just don't house them. There's case management involved. They avail of the different support services that we have. Disabilities such as mental issues, they go into treatment. They monitor that they take their medications.
These emergency shelters normally house the homeless for just a month or 2 until the clients can get placed in low-cost public housing. In all, they can provide shelter for only about 100 individuals. Gura Housing offers a more long-lasting solution. There are low-cost public housing units all over the island, 750 in all. Gura, in what is known as Section 8, also offers over 2,500 vouchers or reduced rates at different privately owned housing estates. Rental fees are subsidized so that people can afford them. A different approach to housing needs has been taken in one place in Jigo, known as Zero Down. For years, people who could not afford regular housing on Guam would purchase lots there and build their own shelter. Many have put up ramshackle temporary structures on their land, eventually replacing them with more permanent homes.
When you buy a lot, usually you have to put a down payment on a lot. And when they bought the lot, there was no down payment. All you had to do was sign a contract and pay monthly. So that's how Zero Down got its name.
The number of homeless has dropped significantly over the past 6 years. But there are people who just can't be helped.
The numbers are actually lowering, right, year over year. Which tells us that, oh, we're doing something right, but then we look around and then, during regular days when we're just driving around, they seem to be increasing, so what your eyes tell you and what the numbers tell you are two different things.
We changed our approach to the provision of services, so one was to recognize that there were individuals, particularly those who were street homeless, who did not really want sheltering. So the approach that we decided to explore was, if there are people that were street homeless who didn't want to be conformed to rules, then, they could remain street homeless, and we will just keep in touch with them through our regular outreaches. For those that really were wanting to be sheltered, we focus our efforts on those.
And a great number of the people that I worked with chose to live on the streets because it was just easier for them. They didn't have these rules that they needed to abide by, and they could do what they want when they wanted. And they liked the freedom of that.
His mother was my client. And this goes back to, like 25 years. And his mother died, and he's now kind of taking her place, but it's now kind of like almost passed on to the next generation.
I don't want to leave my mom on the streets by herself, so I'll put myself there too with her.
We see multi-generational families grow up in Gura. Like grandma lived in Gura, mom lived in Gura, and then grandkids will grow up to live in Gura.
Not everyone living on the streets can be provided with shelter, not just because of lack of facilities, but often because of their determination to remain where they are. What can be done to help them?
With Guma San Jose is we have opened it up for drop-in services. So we do have people that can come in and take a shower, cook food, probably do laundry.
But drop-in services to the shelter are not the only kind offered.
One of the biggest, I think, changes in our response is we bring services to the individuals. We actually bring it out in the street because, one, we know people already have challenges with transportation.
We assist probably on average 300 to 400 individuals during our passport activity.
Trying to provide for the homeless can be frustrating at times.
Some homeless individuals, they tend to be choosy especially the ones coming from the street. We were trying to put them in a 2-bedroom unit. And the first thing she said was, "Is there no aircon?" Then she said that she doesn't feel that her kids would be safe in that environment. Keep in mind, this family sleeps at the park in Agana.
I would say there are some days where I was just like, oh Lord, how long can I do this for? Especially when you have people who come in here and they're not abiding by the rules.
Yet, for all the heartaches and headaches involved, some of the stories have happy endings. Take Walter, for example, who left his broken family in 2009 for life on the street.
Then I got applied for housing under WestCare. WestCare was approved to have veterans support services. And that's when I signed up to get housing under that support services. I did get the housing. Emergency housing was a Plumera. Red Plumera apartments or hotel. And then they got me this place. I got housing, I get food stamps, I get welfare. That I can now start my business, which is gonna be nursery plants. And I'm gonna use the area as a matter of fact over here. I wake up in the morning, I go to the cathedral, to Blessed Sacrament, pray, and then hit the road from there, wherever God puts me. I go to a small village, I wipe tables, because people will want to be able to sit down on a clean table to eat.
Then there is Jeremy, who had been in and out of jail and finally ended up living in an abandoned building in Agana for several months.
One of my relatives was actually working for Gura, and they said they could help me. I stayed back at my grandma's just until Gura picked me up. And from there, I've been on my own. So I've been there about 8 years. I still get public assistance now, but while I was homeless, I just got out of jail, and I didn't receive any of that. My dad was living with me at first, and then he moved out. And I got with a girl. She loves me, and I love her too. She works at Kmart, and I'm working too. I'm actually an office clerk. I work on the computer all day. Things are going great right now. Things are going great. I have a job, I have food. I'm living the way I want to live right now.
I have one that he's doing very well now. The family, kind of well-off family, but the family didn't want him in their house. He stayed in a bus stop. And then we were able to assist him with housing. He's working now. And just like what I said, he started, going to family events and that. He has a girlfriend. And he said, oh yeah, by next year, I probably won't need your assistance. The mother is so happy because apparently it's been a family problem for years.
We've seen that in some cases, I don't know if you remember, Will Beatty used to be at that old abandoned mass transit bus stop right across from Route 3 entrance. Well, he had a disability, a mental illness, and he was able to go get evaluated and now is on meds and is in a group home.
For years now, homelessness has been a visible problem on Guam, a Pacific island that should be able to provide for its own. Yet through the combined efforts of government and private organizations, many of those once living on the street have found shelter and so much more.
The main thing is, where would I sleep tonight? But once they're housed, they're able to get food stamps. They're getting assisted to be skilled, or of course that would boost their self-confidence. They reconnect with their family.
The assistance they received brought Jeremy and Walter housing, medication, and hope for a normal life.
The biggest help for me was getting advice from the right people. Just getting the knowledge that people gave me at the right time, at whatever time it was in my life, was the most helpful. Is the outreach, people that actually outreach to people.
This is God's house. I'm just caretaker. I just live here for him. I call it sanctuary shelter of refuge. Because if there's homeless people out there, there's a storm coming, shelter, weather it out in here. But you can't stay here because it's not allowed. But I'll keep you here out of the storm for the night in God's house. I still call this God's house.
It takes time to get off the street. The problem is not easily solved, but the island seems to be determined to keep at it. Not just government agencies like GURA, but ordinary people.
We have families or organizations, sometimes just a group of friends, that sign up for one particular day of the month, and they bring the food. So it's an outreach of different people throughout the entire island that take their one day a month to come and feed the homeless, and that's how the homeless get fed here.
That's what's really good about Guam. On Guam, we help each other out. It's a lot of the same people, collaborate too, because at the end of the day, the product's the same. What we're going after the same goal, which is to help end homelessness.
Guam is a very